Hello everyone, and welcome back to Monsters of the Past. I'm your host as always, Mr. G, and today I'm here at the West Interior Seed Bay to talk about today's subject. It's our first pterosaur, and it's the toothless wing itself, Pteranodon.
Pteranodon means toothless wing, in reference to the fact that its beak has no teeth in it. It was a member of the Pteranodon family, which were a group of pterosaurs characterized by their large head crests. Pteranodon was a piscivore, meaning it only ate fish, and it lived during the late Cretaceous all throughout the coasts of North America. Pteranodon was discovered in 1870 by famous paleontologist Othniel Charles Marsh, and it holds the record for being the first pterosaur found in North America. It was found in a chalk deposit in Kansas, which during the Cretaceous was part of the West Interior Seaway, which in a nutshell was when a large chunk of the United States was underwater. Pteranodons had a form of sexual dimorphism, with males being bigger and having a more impressive crest, while females were smaller and had crests that were almost non-existent. Pteranodons most likely acted similarly to modern-day pelicans in that they would dive into water and scoop up fish into their bill. In fact, some scientists think they may have had pouches like a pelican, but this is still debated. Contrary to popular belief, Pteranodon and other pterosaurs were not dinosaurs, but rather they are a group of reptiles that were closely related to them, but the two groups diverged sometime during the Triassic. Like all pterosaurs, Pteranodon was covered in tiny hair-like substances called pycnofibers, which had a similar role to feathers in dinosaurs and birds. Now that we have all that out of the way, let's look at the card.
Okay, before I get into the big problem with this card, let me talk about a few minor problems. First of all, it refers to it as a skim feeder, when in reality we now know that Pteranodon actually dived through the surface of the water, and it was impractically built to be a skim feeder. Secondly, the skeleton shown on the back of the card is not a Pteranodon skeleton. And finally, this card gives no mention to the fact that Pteranodons had sexual dimorphism. But the big problem with this card is its scientific name, Pteranodon sternbergia. If you don't know, Sternbergi was originally classed as a species of Pteranodon before it was found out that it was its own separate genus. And I know that this is the species they meant to represent because the crest looks almost exactly like a Geosternbergia. Although weirdly enough, if you look at the timeline on the back of the card, it appears to have the more accurate crest of the species of Pteranodon that's still a species, that being Longiceps, so I have no idea what happened here. Because of the fact that this card technically shows a species that is not even what the card's about, that means, for the first time in this show, I'm going to have to give this a 1 out of 10. Thank you, and good night. I'm just kidding, we still have to look at the pop culture appearances of this thing, so let's get right into that. In the Jurassic Park franchise, Pteranodon first appeared in the ending of The Lost World, where one perches on a branch and screeches. Later, a flock of them appear in Jurassic Park 3, where they attack the main characters when they enter their cage. Then in Jurassic World, a flock of them fly out of their aviary and start wreaking havoc on the tourists. Something worth noting here is that they actually managed to get the fact that Pteranodon females had short crests actually right, so, points to you, Jurassic Park. Pteranodons appear in the Rite of Spring segment of Fantasia, where they're seen fishing for a bit before one gets eaten by a Tylosaurus. I'm not gonna fault them too much here since it was the 40s, but they do portray them as skim feeders here, so, yeah. In the PBS Kids show Dinosaur Train, our main character was raised by a family of Pteranodons. Pteranodons appear in the Walking with Dinosaur spin-off Chased by Dinosaurs, where they're erroneously placed in South America, a place where we have no fossil evidence that they were ever in. One of the main characters of the Land Before Time franchise is a young Pteranodon named Petrie. Although here, Pteranodons seem to be portrayed as a herbivore since they're shown happily eating leaves. The kaiju Rodan is a mutated Pteranodon. And finally, Pteranodon appears as a tameable animal in the video game Ark Survival Evolved. That's all for this episode of Monsters of the Past. Join me next time when I talk about the giant southern lizard. Bye!